with his ears flicking, nostrils flaring at the unfamiliar roar. The field was the largest in North America, 20 colts, all muscle and nerves, jammed so tight in the gate that even the best break could be ruined by a stumble or a sideways glance. Jockeys weighed every decision: how hard to send, how wide to float, how to keep clear of flying mud. A sloppy derby changes the calculus. Inside paths turn slick, outside runners risk losing ground with every step. The start would be chaos, the first turn a funnel of flying hooves and shifting bodies. In that swirl of uncertainty, the smallest error could cost everything. The race was about to begin, but already the conditions had set the stakes higher than any odds board could capture. Luis Saez tightened his grip on the reins, boots pressed firm against the stirrups as the starter's bell split the damp Kentucky air. Maximum Security exploded from post 16 with a burst so clean it left the inside runners scrambling for position. In a race where 20 horses jostle for every inch, Saez's plan was simple: seize the advantage before chaos could find them. The colt surged into the two-path, gliding just off the rail, his stride measured but electric. Mud flew in sheets behind him as he carved out a lane of his own, ears flicking back for cues, eyes locked ahead. The opening quarter flashed by in 22.31 seconds, a bold tempo, but not reckless. Saez refused to panic. He kept Maximum Security relaxed, hands still, letting the colt's natural speed do the work. The pair hugged the inside through the first turn, shutting the door on any challenger thinking of slipping through. Each stride was a negotiation between control and freedom. Saez, reading the horse's rhythm, waiting for the field to settle. By the backstretch, Maximum Security held the lead, dictating terms to a field packed with hopefuls and heavyweights. Saez did not ask for more. He simply guided, letting the colt's confidence set the pace. Every move was deliberate, every fraction a testament to the trust between rider and horse. For the first half-mile, they were untouchable, the favorites and long shots alike forced to chase a shadow slipping farther away with every stride. At the far turn, the Derby's geometry tightened like a vice. 20 horses, each with a shot at immortality, funneled toward the 5/16 pole, where the track bends hardest and the real race begins. Maximum Security still held the lead, but the pack was no longer strung out behind him. Rivals pressed closer with every stride. War of Will crept up inside, Boat Express loomed outside, and Long-Range Toddy tracked just off their heels. The field, once stretched across the backstretch, now compressed into a wall of muscle and mud, lanes shrinking as hooves thundered over the sloppy dirt. The two-path belonged to Maximum Security, but the margin was razor-thin. War of Will's nose hovered at his flank, searching for daylight, while Boat Express and Long-Range Toddy angled for an opening wider out. The sealed, wet surface amplified every move. One slip, one ripple in the herd, and momentum could vanish in an instant. Jockeys yelled for room, hands tight on the reins, their mounts responding to the chaos with snorts and sidelong glances. At the 5/16 pole, the space between contenders evaporated. Horses bunched so tightly that shoulders brushed, and the sound of pounding hooves merged into a single, rolling drum. In this crucible of speed and nerves, the smallest miscalculation could trigger disaster. The Derby, always a test of stamina and tactics, had become a contest of inches, one where fate could turn on the geometry of a single crowded turn. Maximum Security charged off the turn, his stride lengthening as Luis Saez angled him away from the rail. In less than 2 seconds, the colt drifted from the two-path to nearly the four-path, cutting across the face of the field like a ship veering off course. The move was not subtle. War of Will, pinned inside, found his lane vanishing beneath him. Tyler Gaffalione yanked hard on the reins, his mount's head jerking sideways to avoid heels. Behind them, Boat Express and Long-Range Toddy were swept up in the chain reaction. Boat Express stumbled, and Long-Range Toddy checked sharply, losing all hope of forward momentum. For a heartbeat, 20 horses teetered on the edge of disaster, the geometry of the Derby thrown into chaos by a single outward surge. But maximum security never broke stride. Saez, sensing the danger, shifted his weight and gathered the colt back toward the center. The lead was still his, and the wire loomed just ahead. Behind, the field scrambled to recover, their rhythm broken, their chances slipping away with every lost step. 3 rivals had been forced to yield, 3 trajectories altered in the blink of an eye. In the Derby, any jockey who believes their horse was fouled can lodge a claim within minutes of the finish. The process is simple, but the consequences are anything but. Stewards, 3 officials locked in a glass booth above the grandstand, must weigh the evidence, race footage from every angle, the testimony of riders, the geometry of hooves and bodies in motion. The names on the protest carried weight. Pratt, a rising star, had guided the longest shot in the field to a clean trip. Court, decades in the saddle, knew the rules as well as anyone on the grounds. Their objections forced the stewards to halt the celebration, to freeze the Derby's pageantry in a moment of uncertainty. The party in the winner's circle faded as the news spread. For the first time in Derby history, the stewards summoned the jockeys for questioning, replaying the head-on footage again and again. The 22-minute agony began not with a ruling, but with 2 riders demanding an answer to the oldest question in racing. Did the best horse truly win, or did fate and a single swerve change everything? A silent clock started ticking the moment the objections landed. For 22 minutes, the Kentucky Derby's outcome hung in limbo, roses on standby, millions of dollars locked behind a wall of uncertainty. 3 stewards, perched above the track in a glass booth, became the most scrutinized judges in American sports. Their task was to decode the chaos at the 5/16 pole, where maximum security's outward drift had set off a chain reaction. No crowd noise reached them, only the hum of monitors and the click of replay controls. They cycled through every available angle, overhead, pan, and most crucially, the head-on replay. Frame by frame, they charted the geometry of the incident. Maximum security veering from the 2-path to the 4-path, slicing across War of Wills Lane, forcing long-range Toddy and Boat Express to check and stumble. According to Kentucky's Rule 12, a horse that impedes the progress of another, altering the race's outcome, must be disqualified. The stewards mapped vectors and measured lost ground, searching for intent versus accident. Luis Saez's defense, that the colt had spooked at the crowd, was weighed against the visual evidence. The room was sealed off from the roar outside, but the pressure was unmistakable. Each minute stretched the agony, as the Derby's fate was decided not by speed, but by the cold precision of geometry and the absolute authority of the rulebook. The steward's verdict struck like a thunderclap. With a single announcement, maximum security was erased from the Derby record books. The ruling cited Kentucky's interference rule, that a horse that impedes others and alters the outcome must be disqualified. The official chart was rewritten, dropping maximum security from 1st to 17th, behind every horse affected in the chain reaction at the far turn. The crowd's cheers collapsed into stunned silence, replaced by a low, confused murmur.